Their violent agenda marked Hawaiian Gardens as a battleground of intimidation and crime. Ortiz, who worked tirelessly to dismantle this gang's grip on the community, was a clear target because of his efforts. His murder exemplified the gang's brutal tactics to silence opposition and maintain their reign of fear. Jose Luis Orozco, the assailant. Jose Luis Sepi Orozco represented the ruthless culture of BHG at the time of Ortiz's murder. He was 28 years old and heavily tattooed with gang insignia, including a cartoonish Hawaiian punch character, devil horns, and symbols of allegiance to the Mexican mafia. Orozco had an extensive criminal record, including carjacking, burglary, drug distribution, and violent assaults. Before murdering Deputy Ortiz, Orozco had committed a racially motivated shooting, further exemplifying his disregard for human life and law enforcement. His apprehension became a priority after Ortiz's death, ensuring justice for the deputy's family and community. The gang's mockery of a hero's death. Following Ortiz's death, the gang's reaction was appallingly defiant. Hawaiian Gardens graffiti mocked his murder with messages such as FK the Cops 187, FK Pigs 187, and Rest in Piz Ortiz. Beyond graffiti, BHG members wrote a disturbing rap song celebrating the killing, with lyrics glorifying violence against law enforcement. Another cop gone, is all I'm hearing, another cop gone. It's like a MF countdown, armed and dangerous. We just go motherfucking balls out. Just show that we roll and how the Southeast rides, committing all these motherfucking crimes, all at one time. Such actions highlighted the gang's deep-seated culture of violence and animosity toward authority. Operation Knockout. The initial strike. The murder of Deputy Jerry Ortiz prompted a massive law enforcement response, culminating in Operation Knockout, one of the most extensive anti-gang initiatives in the history of Hawaiian Gardens. This landmark operation commenced in May 2009, with over 1,400 officers conducting synchronized raids that resulted in 147 defendants being charged through 5 major federal indictments. United States vs. Flores. A 57-defendant RICO case uncovering murders, racketeering, and racially motivated attacks. United States vs. Henley. A narcotics conspiracy case centered on crack cocaine distribution. United States vs. Barajas. A superseding indictment addressing drug traffickers tied to Mexican cartel networks. United States vs. Sotelo. A methamphetamine trafficking conspiracy involving 21 individuals. United States vs. Ramirez. Focused on dismantling a local narcotics distribution ring. Among those indicted were George Manuel Boxer Flores, a high-ranking gang leader and Mexican mafia associate. Boxer orchestrated gang operations and extorted local drug trafficking networks. His criminal empire came to an end with a 30-year federal prison sentence. In addition to dismantling key gang leadership, the operation resulted in the seizure of 88 firearms and significant quantities of illegal drugs, marking a major victory in the fight against organized crime in Hawaiian Gardens. Broad law enforcement collaboration. Operation Knockout's success was fueled by unprecedented cooperation among law enforcement agencies. Spearheaded by the Los Angeles High-Intensity Drug Trafficking Area HIDTA Southern California Drug Task Force, this Herculean effort included participation from federal, state, and local agencies. Among the collaborators were the DEA, FBI, ATF, ICE, IRS Criminal Investigation, and various local police departments from Los Angeles, Downey, Hawthorne, Buena Park, and beyond. Specialized groups like PROAC, the California Highway Patrol CHP, and multiple narcotics task forces further bolstered the operation. This comprehensive coordination targeted not only the Varrio Hawaiian Gardens BHG gang but extended to other gangs such as East Side Paramount, 18th Street, Mortontown Stoners, Nazi Lowriders, Santanas, Carmelas, Barrio Grape Street Watts, and Compton T Flats. The outcomes were monumental. Nearly 200 indictments, the removal of approximately 300 gang members from the streets, and significant seizures of firearms and drugs. John A. Torres, ATF Special Agent in Charge, highlighted the impact of the operation, stating, "We took violent criminals off the streets and seized their tools of terror, firearms and drugs." The Mexican Mafia Connection. BHG's racial hostility did not operate in isolation. The Mexican Mafia, a notorious prison gang, directed BHG's campaign of ethnic cleansing to dominate neighborhoods and eliminate African American residents. Prosecutors noted similar patterns in other Latino gangs like Florencia 13 and the Avenues, revealing a broader effort to assert territorial control through racially motivated violence. Cases reflecting Mexican Mafia influence. Cheryl Green 2006. A 14-year-old African-American girl was murdered by Latino gang members in Harbor Gateway under Mexican Mafia orders. Florencia 13 2005. Implicated in over 20 racially motivated homicides. The Avenues 2007. Members convicted of racially motivated murders in Highland Park. This expansion underscored the systemic nature of gang violence in the region and the need for a unified, aggressive law enforcement response. Justice and legacy. Jose Luis Orozco was eventually captured and convicted for Deputy Ortiz's murder. Today, he resides on death row at San Quentin State Prison, while the scars left by his heinous act linger within the community and law enforcement circles. The legacy of Deputy Ortiz. Despite the success of Operation Knockout, the loss of Deputy Ortiz remains a grim reminder of the dangers law enforcement faces daily. His sacrifice has inspired ongoing efforts to dismantle violent gangs and protect communities, keeping his memory alive as a beacon of hope and justice.
All right, it's an attempt to deliver a knockout blow to LA gangs.
Doing something like this is really the only way that we can have a major impact upon it.
And we'll take you along the largest gang takedown in the nation's history, and we'll tell you about the one man who inspired the operation.
In the second phase of what federal prosecutors call the largest gang takedown in the nation's history, federal and local cops were back on the streets early today busting associates of Varrio Hawaiian Gardens gang. Chris Blatchford was along for the ride.
Silhouetted in the early morning darkness, deputies and federal agents served 24 warrants, arresting 20 suspects accused in connection with a drug pipeline that leads to the Varrio Hawaiian Gardens gang. Assistant U.S. Attorney Mike Lowe.
If you were a drug dealer in Hawaiian Gardens, you had to pay tax to the Hawaiian Gardens gang, and then a portion of that tax, which is essentially extortion, is passed on to the Mexican Mafia.
These arrests are part of a federal racketeering case called Operation Knockout. The main indictment, unsealed in May, resulted in the roundup of more than 100 Hawaiian Gardens gang members and associates. The 4-year-long investigation was launched by the 2005 murder of Sheriff's Deputy Jerry Ortiz by this Hawaiian Gardens gang member. Those arrested Wednesday are mostly drug dealers and associates of the gang.
They've controlled the flow of drugs in that community. They basically run crime in Hawaiian Gardens.
The principal indictment says that includes murder, attempted murder, weapons trafficking, burglary, kidnapping, and witness intimidation. Nearly a dozen confiscated weapons, handguns, shotguns, and rifles, are now added to an arsenal of more than 100 guns taken off the streets in May. Prosecutor Lowe says people need to understand that this is a violent, dangerous, criminal organization. And that's why law enforcement is doing what it's doing here. In Hawaiian Gardens, Chris Blatchford, Fox 11 News.
Operation Knockout, combined with the capture and conviction of gang leaders, marked a significant milestone in the broader battle against organized crime. Yet the challenges persist as the fight against gangs like Hawaiian Gardens continues to demand resilience, coordination, and courage. The attempted murder of Saunoa Joseph Laumua and crimes linked to the Hawaiian Gardens gang. The shooting of Saunoa Joseph Laumua. On the evening of January 13, 2008, around 8 p.m., Saunoa Joseph Laumua, a wheelchair-bound man, was the victim of a ruthless shooting while heading to a Baskin-Robbins in Cerritos. As Laumua wheeled himself along Ely Avenue, a green van approached him. The men inside asked, "Where are you from?" Attempting to avoid conflict, Laumua responded, "I'm from nowhere." However, the men persisted, accusing him, "Yeah, you're Sporty from Artesia." Laumua clarified, "I'm in a wheelchair. I don't bang anymore." Despite this, the driver ordered the passenger to shoot Laumua and finish him. The van sped off as concerned neighbors shouted warnings and begged the attackers to leave Laumua alone, given his clear disability. When authorities arrived, they found Laumua lying on the sidewalk, bleeding and in agony. He had been shot under the right armpit, with the bullet lodging in his back. Laumua was rushed to the hospital, where he spent nearly 2.5 weeks recovering. Nearby, a witness, identified as JV, had been sitting in a parked car and heard 3 gunshots. He saw a dark green minivan, either a Dodge Grand Caravan or Plymouth Voyager, speeding away. JV memorized part of the license plate, 5PG. At trial, JV testified that Miguel Angel Gomez's vehicle matched the van from the shooting. Investigators recovered 4 shell casings and 2 bullet fragments near where Laumua fell. The robbery of DA and MB just days later, on January 17, 2008, at 11:25 p.m., another crime occurred. DA and MB were walking home from work when a dark green van pulled up. 2 men exited the vehicle. MB escaped, but DA was grabbed and threatened. A gun was pressed to DA's temple as he was told, "Give me whatever you have, or we'll shoot you." Terrified, DA handed over his wallet and phone. The driver shouted to his accomplices, "Hurry up, let's go." Before fleeing, DA memorized the license plate 5 Papua New Guinean Kines 698. Just hours later, at 1:30 a.m., deputies located the van in Hawaiian Gardens. Miguel Angel Gomez, the driver, attempted to flee but was caught and subdued by a K-9 unit. A search of the van uncovered a loaded firearm with additional magazines, black gloves, CDs marked with HG and MDTS, and a digital scale. Forensics confirmed that the bullet fragments from Lauma's shooting were fired from the weapon in Gomez's van. DNA evidence further linked Gomez to the firearm. The role of Andrew Duran. On February 5, 2008, Andrew Duran, a minor, was arrested for his involvement in the robbery and an unrelated attempted murder. Though Duran pled no contest and was sentenced to 9 years as an adult, his recorded interview provided key insights. Duran revealed that Gomez had picked him up alongside another man, Robbie, with the intent to find something. Upon encountering DA and MB, Gomez handed Robbie a gun and instructed him to get him. Despite his admissions during the interview, Duran denied involvement at trial, likely out of fear. Detectives testified that the gang's strict no-snitching code made cooperation dangerous. The Hawaiian Gardens Gang. Detective Esteban Solis, a gang expert, described the Hawaiian Gardens Gang, which originated in the late 1950s. Operating primarily in the city of Hawaiian Gardens, the gang has documented over 1,200 members. Gang symbols include palm trees and the Hawaiian punch character, punchy, letters H and G, graffiti such as VHG, VHGR, and 13. The gang engages in criminal activities like robberies, narcotic sales, assaults, and vehicle burglaries. Initiated members often adopt unique nicknames or monikers. Notable members include Jesus Castillo, aka Chewy, is recognized by tattoos like HG on his hands and VHGR on his body. Roberto Estrada, aka Bones and Mono, bears tattoos of Hawaiian Garden, Punchy, and other gang-related imagery. Final outcome: Miguel Angel Gomez was convicted of attempted murder and robbery, receiving a sentence of 62 years to life. His appeal was denied, upholding the judgment against him. This tragic series of events underscores the devastating impact of gang culture on both its members and innocent victims. From the merciless attack on a disabled man to armed robberies, the Hawaiian Gardens Gang's actions remain a sobering reminder of the destructive consequences of street violence. Legacy of violence. Despite significant law enforcement efforts to dismantle their operations, Varrio Hawaiian Gardens remains a symbol of entrenched gang culture in southeast Los Angeles County. Their history is marked by racial hatred, violent rivalries, and organized crime that have devastated countless lives. While law enforcement crackdowns like Operation Knockout have weakened their grip on Hawaiian Gardens, the scars left by their actions continue to haunt victims and residents alike. Conclusion: the story of Varrio Hawaiian Gardens is one of unchecked violence fueled by racial hatred and criminal enterprise. From hate crimes targeting African Americans to brutal rivalries with neighboring gangs, their legacy serves as both a cautionary tale and a call to action for communities grappling with similar issues. Yet amidst this dark history lies hope. Hope that sustained efforts from law enforcement and community leaders can ultimately overcome such destructive forces.
Puro barro Hawaiian Garden rifa, smoking on the goodest grifa. Te meto una paliza, put your ass in a camisa. Right around the southeast side, committed 187s to 11s. Watch where you stepping with my Smith and Wesson.